Halloween is upon us. The Lakers have won their 17th NBA title. Where does LeBron rank now? And our favorite Halloween memories all up next on the Hyper Nerds Revenge. And welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Hyper Nerds Revenge. My name is Marsky. This is my boy.
Woo!
Hey, buddy.
What's up, dude?
So, what week are we now in virtual quarantine learning?
Is it bad that I don't know the exact number?
I don't
I'm
remember
ballparking at 4 or 5.
I think we're on week 5 or 6 or so. Everything is just
You're a week ahead of me, I think.
Yeah, I think everything is just starting to flow all together at once.
Yeah, we finally. I think we're hitting a groove, right? Like in a good way.
Yeah, and that's a decent transition into.
I forgot that we didn't do the intro yet.
And this is obviously our dad life segment. I don't have too much to report right now, except that everything's going pretty smooth. The homework issues with X are they're seeming to iron out. He's getting his homework done at a decent time now, so Annalise is doing great as far as getting her work done. She's still a lot to learn, like just social cues during the virtual learning, but that's all kids at first grade, so it's I don't know. Yeah, so dad life in that sense has been pretty tame. Dominic is still Godzilla.
The Hulk.
Right.
The Hulk Dodora.
The Hulk Dodora. So real quick though, it's October, so it's Halloween season.
Indeed.
We've been trying to get in not a super scary movie, but like a Halloween themed type movie every Friday. And we kicked that off on week 1 with Gremlins, which I kind of thought they saw before, but I don't. It was one of those movies where I was excited to show them, but they weren't really paying attention. But then I showed it. Well, no, but this year I tried to pull it on them again, and they got into it. Except we saw it kind of like we had a late start, so it was like at 7:30 at night. X was able to get through it. I at least fell asleep, but she wants to finish it, so we might finish it this week.
Gizmo, bro. For her. Come on.
Yeah, she
don't show them too though.
So I initially thought like I'm not gonna show them two
yet,
because at first I think now that I look back at it, I liked 2 when I was little. As I got older,
I did too.
I thought 2 was silly, but now as a dad in 2020 and
trying to shield,
but I think though there's a satire there that my 10-year-old might get, and at least this is totally gonna go over her head.
Yeah.
But I think I'll show them 2 eventually. But I have a different appreciation for 2 now that I'm almost 40.
I need to rewatch. I haven't watched it in about 5 years. But I always end up watching that movie on Christmas. It's weird. I don't know why. It's never on, or Thanksgiving maybe.
So I argue sometimes that Gremlins can be considered, even though it's it's technically a horror movie.
That's so crazy.
It's arguably a Christmas movie also, as well as something you can show on Halloween, which is something. It's funny because Annalise had the same thing. It's like, how come it's Christmas? I thought this was a horror movie. I was like,
Yeah, maybe that's why, because it actually takes place during Christmas in that movie.
Right. Correct.
There you go.
But yeah, so we did that, and then week 2 was Addams Family, which they totally didn't grasp. So I was like, that's a shame.
Show them the new cartoon version first, and then like backtrack. Maybe that'll help.
That was my initial idea, and then Fran was like, she loves that. Not loves, but she likes the Addams Family, the original one.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Who doesn't though?
Yeah, who doesn't? It was, and I was looking. We were watching. I was like, "This is a really good movie, right, guys?"
It's a hidden classic. Right. Like you don't really think much about it, but when you really think about that film from when it was actually produced and put together, it's actually, and the cast is actually really good too.
You're right. Yep. It was.
It was
a very
underappreciated at the time.
Underappreciated, yeah, I would say so. I think that's exactly nail on the head. That it is underappreciated at the time. And then last week we saw Monster House, that's also another underrated. See, you don't even know what the hell I'm talking about. Monster House is an animated movie. I forget who did it, but it's an animated in the style of Leica. Leica Studios. I don't. Let me look it up real quick just to complete this part. It came out in 2006.
That's not that long ago. 15 years. Oh, it's 14 actually, years old. Okay, it's a little.
Your girls might actually like it.
They might have watched it already, to be honest with you. There's a lot of stuff that like I'm like, oh, I want to watch it. I'm like, oh, we watched it already. Damn.
Yeah, it was pretty underrated.
Oh, dang it.
It's not by a big. I don't think it's not by a big studio. I'll double check.
That's I enjoy looking it up. I got Apple Arcade, and I'm excited to kind of try it out. My girls are already playing 2 games from it.
Nice. And they're obsessed. I think I have it, but like we haven't taken advantage of it. This is
dude, it's $5. It's awesome. Anyway, sorry.
This is a Sony Pictures release, Monster House. Yeah, so this is. Yeah, I would. It's produced by Zemeckis and Spielberg.
Oh wow!
But it's not by a big animation house like Pixar or Leica or anything like that. But
what is the Rotten Tomatoes? I know it's silly, but I actually do value Rotten Tomatoes more.
75%, which I believe is so. Anything 70 above me is decent.
Same.
60 is always on the fence, and then 50 I'm just like, and below I'm just like, we'll see.
Yo, how much does your family miss watching movies in like a theater? It's a side tangent, but I'm curious.
I think I'm the only one that misses it the most. And then
really,
then X, and then Annalise it depends on what movie it is. But
of course.
Fran's actually it hasn't affected her. So I think going out more.
So bad.
I think going out more and like eating out is stuff that we miss, but I think movies.
Yeah, we've been a little more adventurous, on the weekends. So unfortunately, most of the weekends now we don't have our stepdaughters. So because they're with their dad, which is a good thing for them. So that's usually when we get to go hang out in areas with us. Long story short, we've been venturing a little bit more into like dining in. But we always ask the same questions, like, what's the capacity? What are you going to do to keep it safe? And so, but it's been interesting. It's a little scary.
So you obviously I've seen the pictures. You've gone apple picking already, right?
Yeah, that was scary, bro. I'm not gonna lie, I was shocked. I got a little intimidated.
Where did you go?
I can feel Dubois Farms I think it's near Poughkeepsie.
I don't think I've been to that one. We
go there every year. 3 years running. Yeah. Good. I like it because the way it's laid out, there's a little bit like a hill that you have to climb up, but the way it's laid out, it's like where the apples are. You don't have to like dive under the tree and grab it. It's one of those things where it's like they all lined up. You just grab. If you go on my shoulders, you can grab higher. And so yeah.
We went to Lawrence Farms last week.
That's a very popular one.
Yeah, and it's one that I think. Since we've gotten married, our families have gone combined. My mom and dad and all her family in Rockland. We've gone there since 2011 every year, and it's basically
I love those kind of things.
It's basically a celebration of all the October birthdays because everybody on her side's birthday, like majority everyone is birthdays in October, so we celebrate that. Fran's birthday just passed on Saturday, October 10th. Shout out to my wife, Fran.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday! Happy birthday! And then
I was waiting to see how that was going to end. I was like,
happy birthday!
I was like, is this a Fran song that you guys like sing to each other?
You don't want to know the songs we sing to each other on each other's birthday. It's.
I bet you it's about utots. I guarantee you. Knowing you, it's about utots.
Okay. You know me so well. Yeah, so we actually, I don't know if we talked about this last video or so. But we went. The first farm we went to was Happy Day Farm, and I think it's a good spot.
That was a very popular one.
You've been there, or?
Once or twice.
So yeah, we went there for the first time 3 or 4, almost 4 weeks ago now.
Wow, it was two apple orchard visits. Nice.
Yeah, it was nice. It was a good thing for the kids too. Happy Day Farm, if anybody's ever gonna go apple picking, or in this case pumpkin picking, because more a pumpkin farm. And
carved a pumpkin first time.
Did you?
First time in my life. Yeah. I did it when I was a kid, like elementary school, and I remember hating it because I hated the smell of my pumpkin. So I think I had a rotten one, to be honest with you.
Yeah, pumpkin usually smelled decent.
Yeah, because the one I had at the time didn't smell bad. Because I remember the first time I smelled it, I was like, why do I have to do this? Anyway, so the first time I carving my girls, my 10, 8-year-old Aurora Bell, and dude, it turned out way better than I thought. It's messy as heck, and I hate the fact that it's so gross. But it was so fun doing it with them.
Yeah, carving pumpkin is another rite of dad passage, and painting a pumpkin. So I'm usually the painting one.
I'm gonna do that next year. Painting one.
Yeah, they haven't really wanted to carve one per se. Also, because every time now we bring pumpkins back, with the damn squirrels in around our yard, they start eating them. And we'll end on this note. Like, Fran's been doing everything to stop them from eating the pumpkins, and there's the last straw for her was one of these little jerks just dug directly, like, bore a huge hole into one of the pumpkins, and she's like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna start doing hot sauce and bleach," and I was like, "You're gonna poison the squirrel," and I was like, "I don't care."
I was like, picturing Fran like on this like ultimate vendetta mission, like having like a passionate conversation with you about it, and you trying to be like taking it seriously. But
well, so like the squirrels could get annoying, and they've destroyed like 3 of our garbage cans, so we've had to get new garbage cans. But just to see her just very much like, I want to kill these things. I'm just like, oh my god, ugh, never let me eat your pumpkin. And the kicker too is my father.
I cry right now, man.
The kicker too is my father-in-law. He's not subtle about his disdain for the squirrels. So he went to Home Depot. Do you have anything to kill squirrels? And I'm just like thinking. When he told me, I'm thinking the poor worker that he asked that to. He was like, you're not supposed to kill squirrels. Like, oh, okay.
You have a shovel.
I was like, the back of my head too was like, oh, poor squirrels. I know they're annoying, but you have a bunch of angry Filipinos in the house that want to kill you.
Your friend wants to put hot sauce in the pumpkin.
I think it worked. Well, I think the hot sauce combination, because she tried a lot. She tried vinegar. She tried.
Can you get the new iPhone and do like a night video of it, please?
That she tried vinegar, the alcohol spray, but it looks like bleach and hot sauce has worked.
Some sriracha, bro. And draw like a sriracha moat.
So, on a note for you, you recently just got LASIK, right?
I did. Actually, I'm like 3 or 4 days into my recovery. It's crazy.
So you got your...
okay. Here's what's happened in the last month.
Fixed, and you got your
here's what's happened in the last month to my delightful body.
Oh my god!
I've gotten my vasectomy. So I, finally the scars are starting. It's fine. Anyway, I won't go into details. So I got that done. All right, cool. Now I can have kids. Adventures. Let's do another thing. Let's get some LASIK scheduled. So we did it, right? So I got scheduled, but unbeknownst to me, one of my tooth gave out. Meaning that like I started getting like some serious pain in it. I was like, oh my gosh, it hurts bad. One of the nerves were exposed because my gums had like kind of like receded down a little bit. And so I had to get, I didn't tell you this one. So this is genuine Maris reaction. I
Oh my
I got
god.
tooth pulled earlier last week.
That's why we couldn't do the show last week.
Exactly. Exactly. I was like, and it's like, that's still healing. So I stitches there, stitches down there.
Oh my god.
And I was like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's go 3 for 3. Week 3 of this month. My eyes got lasered where I went blind for about like 5 to 10 seconds before vision came back. And I got my eyeballs every 2 hours. That looked really, really weird.
Oh man.
But it's crazy. I don't know how my body is still like. Oh, and we got a flu shot.
On top of that, you got a flu shot. So you got your nuts sutured, you got your teeth sutured, and you had lasers bored into your eyes. And on top of that, you got a
shot. My immune system is like on turbocharged nitrous oxide right now. Oh my god. I don't know how I was able to heal all my body.
You're like the bionic Will right now, almost.
Yeah, or like I don't know, like Edward Scissorhands, because I have all these stitches everywhere.
That's a nice Halloween reference there. Real quick before we end Dad Life? What was LASIK like? Because I've been thinking about doing it too. Obviously, for people that don't know, I wear contacts. You've seen me wear glasses on the show before. But my eye doctor said you're a good candidate. I'm a good candidate for LASIK, but I just never. I don't think I had the wherewithal to go through with it. So how was the experience?
So for me, it was something that it was always on my mind to do that I wish I would have done earlier. But my wife's like, yo, why don't you get it done? You just broke your second pair of glasses in a year. So you spent already $1,000.
So you got LASIK because you're a klutz.
Basically. Yeah. So, if you had here's what I'll say. Anyone asking for that advice, if you had the financial means to get to pay for it, and your insurance, like, for me, my insurance actually covered 15% of it, which actually was what helped me pull the trigger on it. Nice. Yeah, it helps a lot. Actually, 15% on the total cost is a big help. I say do it. I've had to use glasses since I was like 6 or 7 years old. No exaggeration. And I wake up every day being able to see clearly out the window. I get to go to sleep and remind myself I don't need to take off my contacts because I can see if I'm fall asleep.
Wow. So how much better is your vision right now?
Big vision. I went from like thick ass glasses. I can show the lens next time. To
I remember.
2020. Yeah.
Wow.
2020, bro.
Almost immediately, or what?
So the date. Okay, so leading up to your surgery, you have to go into your eye doctor to, make sure the measurements are still accurate so that they don't mess up your eyeballs with lasers. Mm-hmm. And then you have the surgery, and then you literally have to go the next day. You have no choice. You have to. Mm-hmm. And so I went the next day, and they did the measurements, so they did the eye test and everything like that. And the right eye was still adjusting. The left eye was already 20/20. Wow. A day later, bro. Did I look like a zombie from 28 days later? Yes, I did. But it was perfect vision. I felt like a superhero.
Did it hurt, laser, or did you use it?
No, but it smells. It's quick. So I had a great doctor. So really kind of like switch you back and forth from machine to machine, because one eye here, right? And I guess they have to do it quick. So the process, they put a ring first and foremost, like kind of like right on top of your eye. And actually, the amount of pressure that it puts on it actually causes you to lose vision for however long it's on there.
And you felt that, or?
Yeah, it's painful. It's not like super painful because it kind of gives you like a relaxing sedative, not sedative, but like they give you like a pill. It's a very common one. I forgot what it is because I don't take it ever, but it chills you out. Okay. And so they put on it. If you feel it though, it's like, oh my god, this is so uncomfortable. Think about like a paper towel thing, like the actual like roll, like pressing up against your eye mad hard. And then the laser goes in there, they take off the ring, they swing you around to the other side. So the really thing I only experience is the smell of your eyeballs getting cut.
Okay, I've heard enough. Well, good. I'm glad. Like it's working out for you, and I think eventually I'll consider it. But up until then, that's gonna take us into our newest segment that we're gonna throw up on the channel called
Check this out.
This is our new segment called Inside Dad Stuff. So it's just stuff, that we randomly are just gonna pack into this segment. It could be about sports, tech, things of that nature, stuff that we're still into, even though now we're dads and can't.
I take credit for the name.
We can't we can't afford some of the stuff that we desire now. But yeah, Will and I were just getting into a conversation about in the tech world, being that the new iPhone 12s have just been announced and they will be coming out later this month. We obviously both used to work for a digital fruit company.
Indeed.
And we had
Forrest Gump is an investor.
Right. And we had good times there. But the last 10 to 15 years have been a flux in terms of technology.
A renaissance.
Yeah, because, believe it or not, the iPhones first debuted in 2007, which sounds like a long time ago, but it was really only 13 years ago. So,
yeah,
it's everything that's happening now technology-wise has been a blur. We've gone through now in those 13 years about 13 different phones, a renaissance to where this little device that we have in our pockets now has been has basically taken over the world.
Part of our existence, literally.
It's part of everyone's existence now. It's more revolutionary, probably the most revolutionary electronic device of the last 20 years. And think about that. We're in 2020. 20 years ago, there wasn't any of this. Wow. Right?
Wow.
The year 2000, everything was just kind of coming into fruition.
We were just getting flip phones at that point, right?
I had a Sony Ericsson phone, I had a Motorola phone in the early 2000s.
Sony Ericsson, let's go.
I was I had a Sony Ericsson too, so it was cool.
Was it black and orange?
No, I had a navy blue one, navy blue flip Sony Ericsson.
Wow. We're dating ourselves, bro. We're dating ourselves.
Yeah. Who cares? We're dads now, so we're not trying to be cool for anybody. But this is the experience, right? I think our generation is the one, like you were saying, we were at the tail. We were at the tail end of vinyl, going into cassettes in the 80s, and then transitioning to CDs, and then
mini disc players. Anybody out there?
My dad loves the mini disc player and was so mad that it didn't really take off well, because the mini disc player preceded just MP3 players where the file was just stored on there, which
the windows are just too small for them to really get any traction.
That's what I'm saying. Like the flux of everything everything is kind of still in flux, because was it iTunes came out in 2001 around?
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
2001.
Yeah, for the iPod. Yeah. Well, no, before the iPod, but really helped manage iPod software.
But then now we're just getting into the last 3 or 4 years streaming movies, and I think during this pandemic, it's more apparent that this has become something that has become a way of life, is streaming stuff now. And Disney did the whole experimentation with Mulan, which for better or worse, I think
succeeded.
Worked.
Yep. So there's gonna be more of it. Let's be real.
Yeah.
I mean, it is definitely it's an interesting time to be a part of it, and I think our generation, especially our age group, is very fortunate where we can literally say we are part of every single change of technology that has happened.
Every single major change, yeah.
Yeah, every single major change since the 80s, essentially, which, again, not much, let's be honest, not much happened leading up to the 80s. the 80s, everything just kind of like skyrocketed in development, just blew up into a point where, really the iPhone set us on a pace where, technology is now not just something not something you need, want to have, but something you need to have. Like, we can't do our jobs without it. We can't order food without it. We can't do this without it. We can't pay for stuff without it sometimes, so it's just, tech, man.
Yeah, man.
It's a whirlwind.
I hear you. So, I've discovered a new YouTube. I don't think it's a new YouTube channel, but a channel that I think everyone should check out. It's called Weird History. Weird History has a series on there called Timeline, which is very recent. I think it came out the beginning of September 2020, which again, it's a little less than a month ago. Their first season 1 was the 80s, so it detailed everything from 1980 to 1989, and it's about an hour long each episode, which is good. So I was a big fan in the 2000s of when they started airing I Love the 80s, I Love the 70s.
Oh, those are great on VH1.
Those are great, but it was more of a comedic take.
Yeah.
And looking back at stuff that happened, and there was some seriousness to it there, but what Timeline does on the Weird History channel on YouTube, it's a more serious and dry humor approach, but they go through everything in chronological order of how it happened, which is great. And then
that's a lot of work.
Yeah, well, so here's the cool thing: both of us saw The Last Dance, and the way that they go the present day, then they skip back in the timeline, and then they relate it to something that's happening there. That's what Timeline does, and I think it's a great format for you to relate what happened then to what's happening now. Season 1 is all about the 80s. I would definitely recommend it for everybody that's watching. And then season 2, they announced is going to be on the 90s. I don't know when that's coming out, but I can't wait for that. It's a good history lesson for anyone that wants a quick crib sheet, Cliff Notes on the 80s and all the major.
Do people still know what Cliff Notes are?
I just dated ourselves again, huh?
Yeah, I think so. I see the Barnes and Noble sometimes, I think. On a rack.
I think they're called something else now, though. Anyway, yeah, so
Notes? I don't know.
Weird History on YouTube. The Timeline series is great. Also, that whole Weird History channel is great on YouTube if anybody wants to learn about history that with a little bit more context than what you've read in your history books. History's always been a great subject for me.
I would love to dive into Christopher Columbus. I know that has nothing to do with modern day, but I'm interested.
I think they have a bunch of stuff on there. I would definitely have you check that out. That actually might be a nice history buff too. So that actually might be a good segment for us to add to the show. Weird History facts. Anyway,
thinking of ideas. I'll film it. Let's do it. Recording, filming.
There's no film in the camera. It's all digital. Anyway, the Lakers
ourselves.
On to sports. The Lakers are now tied all time for the most for the franchise with the most NBA titles, winning their 17th on Sunday. 17th NBA title are now tied with the Boston Celtics for the most all time by a franchise.
Where's the Knicks?
The Knicks only have 2, buddy, and I don't want to talk about them right now. Although you want to say something about Dennis Smith Jr. real quick.
Dude, if you ever watch this video, bust your butt, get a J, and become the starting point guard, because I need you to be our starting point guard. Let's not draft someone that we don't need. I need you to fly to the hoop, kick out when needed, and hit a 3 once in a while.
And if you don't, you're going to be gone anyway. So
yeah, it's a contract year, bro. Get that money. This is the year.
Anyway,
Frankie be defense. You got the offense.
Oh boy.
Just saying, we don't need to draft it.
Tibbs, player development. That's your thing, right? Do it for Dennis Smith Jr. for this guy, please.
Please.
Anyway.
Please. Por favor.
Back to the end of the 2020 NBA bubble season, and the Lakers are now the NBA champs. LeBron James now has his fourth NBA title and his fourth
arguably the most impressive
Finals MVP. So that's a good segue. Is this title more impressive than the Cleveland one?
So my initial thought with this whole bubble thing was like, I don't count this year, but I have changed my tune on this one in a major way, where I've actually legitimized it more because it's in the bubble. Playing in a setting where there are no fans, playing in a setting where there is no setting, but literally what's surrounding you for weeks and months, where you don't get to be in your home. You don't get to even leave to go home to change your clothes, get whatever. A valet brings it to you in Disney World, which isn't a bad place to be. Also, I really want to point out that literally you're playing essentially the equivalent to a high-tech pickup game because there are no fans, and that's incredibly difficult to perform for people that are just on the other side of the screen and not in front of you. You can filter in sound all you want, but when you know it's not real, it's not the same effect. So if you can win a championship in that kind of environment, in that kind of setting, you are one of the best teams in NBA history.
So I don't know if I would go that far as teams in NBA history. But I will give credit to where credit's due. The Lakers pretty much steamrolled through the playoffs. They only lost once.
Literally.
They lost once in the first round, lost once in the second round, lost once in the conference final, and they lost twice in the finals.
With an old LeBron.
Which brings me to this. LeBron is 35 years old right now, right?
Yep.
That age
playing since he was 18. Yep.
So we feel that he's old because he's been in the league that long.
Yeah.
But 35 is still, even nowadays, 35 is still, you're not really considered old till you're on the back end of your 30s and to your 40s. But I think the way that he conditions himself, and he spends $1 million plus on his body. It's well publicized that he does.
Yeah.
That I think he'll still be, at everyone, the whole washed king thing. I think we all believed it. We bought into that hype too until we saw him play, and now until now that the season's over, we all know that was a crock. That was a crock because he carried the Lakers to the final, and they put his stamp on it in Game 6. And if you ask some of my friends, I thought after Game 3 when the Heat won, that I thought the Heat might have had them figured out, but the Lakers just came right back and just they took control 3-1. Jimmy Butler had an amazing series.
Only Jimmy Butler.
He had an amazing series. The Heat were hit with just bad luck injuries to Bam and to Dragic.
That's a big one. But
Bam. The Heat are going to be a force to reckon with because they've got two of the best. It looks like they have two of the best shooters in the league on the same team, and they're both young.
Butler needs to. His window's getting smaller though. He's getting older. Butler's got to lay, and I think he's got like 2 more years of this like top tier.
But I also think he's found his team now though, because that if Bam can step up his game, and I think if Kendrick Nunn can step up to be a top point guard, or if they get a top tier point guard, I think they're going to be a better force to be reckoned with. However, that being said, back to LeBron. The Lakers are on top of the hill now, and now they have every team now has to go through them. We'll see how they fare against an actual full strength Warrior team next year.
That's gonna be a big deal. Their roster is the Lakers roster is arguably a weaker roster besides the top. It's very top heavy, right?
Right.
With that said, they have a lot of people that are older. They have a lot of people that are on minimums. And so when you go against Golden State, can that kind of roster keep up with a Golden State type of offense?
So the thing is, too, I think if we were to compare Golden State and Miami
It'd be more even.
I think, yeah, they're even.
Yeah.
Miami arguably though has Jimmy Butler and their version of a younger version of the Splash Brothers. Even though Tyler Hero is not Steph Curry, and I'm not going to go there, and Duncan Robinson is not Klay Thompson. Although,
not yet, at least.
Not yet, at least. Tyler Hero is showing signs that he can be a force to be. He might be a force to be reckoned with in this league.
He could be a Klay Thompson.
And then Duncan is who? I had it kind of reversed. Anyway, they're both excellent shooters.
Monte Ellis getting traded away.
So those two are both excellent shooters, and I think they complement Butler well. They might have to add another dimension to their game because I think the Lakers had them figured out by the end of Game 6.
But that without Bam though, like if Bam was there, that could have helped out. I mean, well, they have one no. I think there's still one piece missing. I don't know off the top of my head.
So Bam for me is another version of Sean Kemp. Just he
did not age well.
Just his game was I think they have the same game, and unless and Sean Kemp was great for the Sonics in the 90s, but if you put Sean Kemp on a team now, it's kind of the
he's a 90s star.
Yeah, the game's changed too much for him
his style.
For his style. So
same thing with even Larry Johnson. Yeah,
that whole dunker post up style it doesn't work now. Although he's a good force to have. He is an all-star for a reason.
True.
And I think though also if Bam was 100%, it might go 7.
Been different series, but they still would have lost. LeBron and AD is just insane.
And I think the whole Lakers winning fits the narrative of this season because
it was destined, man.
Yeah, unfortunately with Kobe dying earlier in the year, the whole and the way the year went, I think the Lakers winning the championship fits the narrative for the NBA.
It's also LeBron, being the one that said we should play,
right?
And really kind of like whipping everyone into shape to like say, hey, like fall in line, like, we need to play.
Yeah,
get it together.
I think also too there's a different narrative that went around because the NBA went the pro social justice route.
That's a huge thing too. I don't care with those cynics. That was the right thing to do, and of course, NBA is always the first to do something that everyone else is afraid to do.
Yeah, coming from the other side, and I'm not from the other side. I'm just I keep my ear open to the perspective. There were naysayers. The NBA. Just they've changed. I'll never watch this stuff, and I'm like, you know what? They're for people to say that they shouldn't be taking a social justice stand or anything like that. That's your opinion, and that's fine. My opinion is that there's certain messages that need to be said, and if they want to do it that way, that's fine. You don't have to watch. That's your right.
Yep.
But for basketball fans that needed the escapism and weren't gonna let what the climate is now affect their love for watching baskall. I mean, that's the camp that I fell in, and I'm thankful to the NBA that figured out how to do it, and
in a tasteful way.
For some people, it's not tasteful to have Black Lives Matter on there, but if you understand that it's not the organization of Black Lives Matter, and it's the whole notion Black Lives Matter. Of course, Black Lives Matter. Of course, all lives matter. Of course, and when I say all lives matter, it's not like as a counter to Black Lives Matter. I'm saying every single person's life matters. Generally speaking,
we should treat everyone equally.
Correct, but Black lives are the ones that are at the forefront right now, and they do matter, and that's the way I take it. I'm not saying that my family's life comes ahead of that. I'm saying they're saying it in general that we matter too.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we're here. And when you want to counter anything like that, it's just like, come on. Like anyway, I'm not getting into a political thing right now, but back to, I'm happy the NBA was able to innovate a way for
pioneered a lot of things.
They pioneered a lot of things. For us to get sports
back on
competitively. Yeah.
Can we list out a couple of those things? Not the bubble idea, which took a lot of commitment and a lot of follow through and a lot of logistics, a lot of money. They also, I mean, even the fans on the TV screen, that's already been taken by WWE and they ran with it.
Right.
In a big
tennis
way.
Too. Tennis also.
Tennis also. A lot of these major sports have done that. And it's just, if every other organization like sports, if they hadn't started that, you can make the argument that every other sports organization that's playing right now, NFL, MLB, wouldn't have gotten their butt into gear.
Yeah, I said this on another podcast too. Is that before the whole bubble season started, when they were talking about the idea and it was coming to fruition, I said this is going to make or break sports for 2020, because if it doesn't work in the NBA, no one else is going to follow through with what they want to do, because the NBA has always been the one to innovate and to pioneer certain ways of doing things, for better for worse, depending on your political view. But because there's people that are like, the NBA is this, the NBA is that, whatever. Anyway, they're the ones that innovate to this way of presenting sports on a national stage. And again, if they hadn't done it, if they hadn't succeeded, and for all intents and purposes, they succeeded.
They did. I don't know how much money they actually made revenue.
Yeah, I don't know much revenue-wise. I don't know how much it went into, and supposedly ratings were low this year. Whatever. But
I think only one person said that, by the way, and his skin is orange, so take it for what it's worth.
Anyway, yeah, but he's got a whole following of people that will believe anything that he says too. But
some people, I mean, not to get on a racial thing, but I need to say this real quick. Like, people that don't support Drew Brees anymore because of what he said, y'all need to maybe take this step your butt. Like, he's a sellout now for what? And he's a wavering, coward. Like, what?
But first of all, like, I don't like either way. He said what he said. Whether he took it back or not, it's the way that he feels. This is the whole problem. Okay, we're gonna go to this tangent. This is the whole problem here. Everybody now has a problem with whatever anyone's opinion is if it doesn't align with them. I don't agree with that at all. My opinion is going to be my opinion. If you don't like it, you can disagree. That's fine. That's what respectfully disagree. That's your, even disrespectfully. If you want to, whatever. You can. That's your right. That's my right to feel the way I feel, and that's the beauty of America. I can feel the way that I feel about stuff, and I'll have the wherewithal to respectfully disagree with whatever you say if I don't agree with it. I'm not gonna defriend you because we're friends for a reason,
right?
Or we were friends for a reason, and I'm not gonna let this our political climate change that. You have an opinion, I have mine.
Yeah,
agree to disagree. We can still be friends. It's not a big. It's not that. That's the whole problem right now. Is everyone feels that they need to. Everyone's got to feel the same way that they feel. It's like, no, we don't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to look at you any different for you having a specific political view.
Right.
I mean, it'll be in the back of my mind for stuff that I can talk to you about and stuff that I can't talk to you about. But I don't think everything
doesn't make you a bad person.
It doesn't make you a bad person. It's not. It's everything this year has just been so extreme,
polarizing.
Yeah, polarizing. I think it's just been so extreme one way or the other, and I don't think there hasn't been any way for this year for anyone to meet in the middle, which is why we have all of what's going on in 2020.
It's getting bad, man. It's getting bad. Yeah,
and there's also people that are taking advantage of the political climate just to further their own agenda in the disguise of,
government.
in this guise of government, in this guise, but it's on the other side too. I think it's in the guise of being self-righteous, or just in the guise of trying to do good.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I can see through you, man. Like I don't.
Yeah.
We all have
words
our own,
are words.
Yeah, we all have our own moral compass, and I think that's what's going to steer us one way or the other. And
yeah, that's right.
Whether your moral compass is, leading you down a path that I don't agree with, my moral compass is going to lead me to a path. Yeah, to each is your own. I'm going to respect. Yeah. I'm not going to hate you. I'm going to respect what you believe in, but I don't have to. I don't have to like it, but I will respect it. And we'll connect on other things if we're friends.
Yeah.
And we'll leave it at that.
That's why I stopped arguing with people on Facebook.
I don't even see, that's the thing too. Like I don't get like this. Not Facebook stuff is not a convert. Like it's just people leaving comments, not really reading the other ones, and just you want to.
I wish they would though, because sometimes it can lead to some spirited and productive conversation. You will never sway each other from your sides, but
yeah,
if it's done respectfully, and that's why I said it before, if it's done respectfully, you get actual like insight towards mindset why, and a lot of times it's for honest reasons.
Yeah, and we have, each of us have friends on Facebook that I think have gone the way that we wouldn't go as politically, but
sure.
Again, like I haven't defriended anybody because of their political stance. I respect their opinion. I respect what they have to, their reasons. I'll understand them. I don't agree with them, but it is what it is. We connected.
Yeah,
we connect on other things.
Well, that's the thing. You can tie it into things where you can tie it into, since we were talking about LeBron before, we can tie it into this where, let's say with him, right? He's been very vocal with kind of, where he stands, right? What he feels, where he feels like things are injustices are, what athletes should be doing. But then you have people like equally as influential in MJ, who is more behind the scenes if he does do anything, right? Where he doesn't feel the need to, put into out in the open, like I am doing this to do this to do this.
And he's been more active. Mike has been more active now.
He has been more active. I think he realizes his the gravity that he kind of draws towards himself. And not that he never did, but I think realizing that maybe it is a little bit your responsibility that he has taken on, where it's like, okay, I am Michael Jordan. Maybe I should say something, or maybe I should donate to this and release a press statement or something.
Right.
But politics is going to be one of those things that weirdly enough has now bled into pro sports. I feel like it never used to be like that.
No, I think it but I think
now it has,
because for all this is not a statement on a racial statement or anything like that, but pro sports has multicultural athletes, and I think pro sports is probably the biggest mix of multicultural people in the world. Like everybody plays a sport. Right.
Yeah.
And they're not
all. At least know somebody.
Or you know, so they're not all white. They're not all black. They're not all Hispanic. They're all mixed. There's a race of people in every sport, and
well represented.
Well represented. There's more black people in sports, more black athletes that are now wanting to take a stand because they realize that they have their platform. And they're going to use their platform, to, like anybody would. If you're that high profile of an athlete, if I were that high profile of an athlete and I had something to say,
I'd want to use it.
I would use it too. They're and
it's a rare position to be in. You should take advantage of it if you have it.
Well said. And I think we've gone off on too much of a tangent on this, but but it had to be said. And I think
agreed.
Back to LeBron. after bring the tangent full circle. Where
does he rank?
Where does he rank? This is going to be, now that he has number 4 and arguably
the most
impressive one
of the four.
It's still tied with me with the Cleveland one because
that's a feel good story though.
That's a feel good story. There was arguably more pressure on him to win this one.
I think he had more pieces in Cleveland. That's why I can't rank it above. You have AD, one of the most dominant big men, arguably the most dominant big men in the NBA. But the rest of that ensemble,
we're you could interchange them. I think.
Yeah.
So for me, I think he is top. He's still top 3. I think though you can kind of swap. I don't want to say. So top 3 for me. So my top 3 all time would be in terms of favorite players for me is Mike,
of course.
And then there's Kobe.
Yep.
Who recently moved up into there. Because again, I'm going to reiterate, I wasn't a Kobe guy growing up.
Yeah, I don't think any of us were.
I was a Iverson guy. I was a Vince Carter guy.
Kobe was the man that defined flop.
Early 2000s. In the early 2000s, I was an Iverson guy. I was a Vince Carter guy. Anybody you ask about me will attest to that. I was not a Kobe guy, but I think I rank, in the last 20 years, obviously the evolution's happened. So I put him number 1. Put him number 2 to Mike.
Okay.
And I'm putting LeBron 3rd. And the previous spot I put in there was Magic.
I knew you put him there. I think he surpassed him.
I think he surpassed Magic. Obviously not championship wise, but
not championship wise.
I think as accomplishments, the
general impact,
the meaning of all 4 of those championships.
Yep.
I think, I mean, he's, like it or not, LeBron is the basketball culture for any kid that has lived in the last 20 years. Yes.
Yeah. He is for a lot of people. I guess what ended up Kobe being for us being Jordans, and then the next generation being Kobe's, the next generation now is LeBron. Right. And there is no clear cut who's the next generation after that. Maybe Steph Curry, but even he's technically in the LeBron era.
Right.
But LeBron is top 3 for sure. I actually have the same list you have, so it's not too much of a shocker. But with LeBron, something that he gets a lot of flack for, that I actually think he should deserve credit for, is the reason Magic fell down your list, in my mind, if I were to have the same list as you, he'd fall down because he did all with one team.
Right.
Same organization, knew how things run, ran the show there in a way because he knew how things worked.
Right.
And he knew his place in it all.
Right.
Now, LeBron has done this with 3 different teams at this point.
3 different teams, yep. Mm-hmm.
And all run differently. And yes, LeBron does kind of like get to do what LeBron does and says what he wants and gets to kind of run the show the way he does. But he's gotten adjusted to 3 different organizations, 3 different executives, 3 different CEOs, 3 different team owners, 3 different coaches, assistants, players, personnel, scouting agents. And so that to me is more impressive. That's what puts him arguably, you could, at this point, is it who's better, him or Kobe? It's never going to be him and MJ. Him or Kobe.
True.
That's a tough one because they have played together.
Yeah. In the same era. Yeah.
In the same era.
It's funny because those top 3 are from the top 3, I think, draft classes of all time, at least in the last 40 years.
That makes so much sense.
Class, the 96 draft class, and the 2003 draft class are arguably the 3 best draft classes within the last 40 years.
Yeah. Hands down.
Yeah. I think the argument is there. I think that for those 3 also, it's unfair now to compare the 3 of them to the closest comparison you get to Mike is Kobe. Yeah. And the closest comparison you get to LeBron, I think, is Magic. So
in terms of like overall impact on the floor.
And just and skill wise. They're those 2 are the 2 same players of a different era. And I think you can't compare LeBron to Mike. They're two different players. I'm gonna keep it, and I think I've said this before. They're two different guys. Those are the two wrong guys to compare to each other.
You can also say that every single time you pick MJ, though, right? Yeah,
that's why I have the red goat shirt on today. Obviously,
I got Ropey.
Oh, little Sanrio gang there.
It's a pajamas in here, bro. I'm exhausted.
Thank you for ruining this segment. So yeah, so we're LeBron rank for you.
I mean, because I'm trying to be objective, right? I don't want to let emotions play a part of it. You know, just like how Tom Brady, after he won his last Super Bowl, I put him above Joe Montana. You know, before that, no. Immediately, I would say no. Joe Montana, number one. Tom Brady isn't even close. After, literally, right after he won the chip against Atlanta, I was like, okay, yeah, you better.
Yeah,
I am comfortable saying, and I will be happy to sit down with anybody and have a discussion about it. I would be happy to say that LeBron is number 2 above Kobe, with MJ still being number 1 because of the chip, because of the fact that it was in the bubble, and because he actually technically did less pieces than he did, and he did it with Cleveland and then Miami.
Yeah, and who knows too? He's in his 18th. He's going to be playing for another 3 years. He might get another couple championships. So this might be another conversation to revisit for another time. But again, I want to end it with this: like the MJ LeBron comparisons should stop now because, first of all, it didn't start off fair. Jordan had 3 years of college.
Yes.
LeBron didn't go to college. That's why he's been in the NBA for 18 years. That's why his numbers have surpassed Jordan's, because obviously he's been in the league longer. Mike took a year and a half off, and then another year and a half off, or 2 years for his second retirement. So who knows?
Different eras, different game, man.
If he hadn't done that, his numbers would be a little bit more inflated because, obviously just being in the league that long.
And not having the rest of the first half year back.
Yeah.
So you have 2 full seasons of more stats.
Correct. And numbers-wise, we all know that their drive was different, obviously, compared to The Last Dance. But until they come out with, LeBron's documentary, we won't know the behind the scenes of everything with that. Yeah. So true. It's an unfair comparison. I think we should stop comparing them.
I think you can say they're both the best of all time of their generation.
Correct, and that's how we should look at all the athletes. Like, if we're going, Bill Russell, best of his generation. Bill Russell and Wilt, best of their generation. I would say.
Yep.
And depending on what you were into, if you're into the big guys, or if you're into, like Jerry West and them, best of
the smaller forwards
generation.
Yeah.
And that's how we should be looking at everything.
Yeah, I agree.
There's no comparisons anymore, I don't think.
I think it's fair to say, hey, if they played one-on-one in their primes, you could talk about the discussion of how that game would go down. But that doesn't indicate that, one surpasses the other in terms of being number 1.
Yeah. And again, if we could play a one-on-one series, like, who gets the best of 7 out of that? LeBron. Can you imagine, too? We'll save this for another time. We're gonna end it on that.
Yeah.
Just keep that thought in mind. If LeBron and Magic were to play 1-on-1 in a 7-game series, who would win? If Mike and, God rest his soul, Kobe Bryant were to play 1-on-1 in a 7-game series, who would win? Let that linger in your mind for a little bit. And that's going to do it for this episode of the Hyper Nerds Revenge. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And we'll see you next time here on the Hyper Nerds Revenge.